Honorable members, prayers. Almighty God, we humbly beseech thee to look with favor upon this Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Grant that it may perform its high duty as in thy sight. Give divine guidance to the President of the Republic. Endow members of Parliament and ministers of state with discernment and vision, integrity and courage, that through the labors of this land and people may be well and truly served, and our good purposes for the common human life be realized in our midst. Amen. O God, grant us a vision of our country, fair as it might be, a country of righteousness, where none shall wrong his neighbor, a country of plenty, where evil and poverty shall be done away with, a country of brotherhood, where all success shall be founded on service and honor shall be given to the deserving, a country of peace, where government shall rest on the will of the people and the love for the common good. Let the efforts of those who struggle to make this vision a living reality inspire and strengthen our people, that they may give time, thought, and sacrifice to speed the day of the coming beauty of Ghana and Africa. Amen. Honorable members, correction of votes and proceedings. I'm informed the Hansard, the official report, is not ready yet. So today we'll be correcting only the votes and proceedings. Page 1. Page 2. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, you are proceeding on the correction of votes and proceedings, but we are not having copies on our side. And I perceive that they are not even distributing them on the other side. So if we can slow down for them to give us copies before we can proceed with the correction. Else, some of us might have marked absent meanwhile we were here last week. So if we can slow down a bit, for us to be giving copies as well.
Honorable member for Banda. Deputy Chief Minority Whip. We will not slow proceedings down because members are not ready. We will move on. You are at liberty to contact the table office if you, after that, found out that you have some problem with the votes and proceedings.
Okay.
So page 2. Page 3. Page 2, sorry. Honorable member, your name first and your constituency.
Number 52. My name, Amankwa, is without the H.
Table office, take note, Amankwa without an H. Page 3.
No, other paper. Oh, sorry.
Page 4. Honorable members, we have so many of you on your feet, and so I can't identify those who want to correct the votes and proceedings. Please, may you be seated. Page 4. Page 5.
Number 187. Not Benjamin IQ. They indicated that my surname is Aiku, not and the narrative is wrongly spelled. It should be N-A-R-T-E-H. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Table office should take note. The same name is Aiku, and the Nati is spelled with an H at the end, not Y. Page 6. Yes, Honorable. Sorry, number
'Ampechum Sapo. The 'Ampechum Sapo is hyphenated.
Table office, kindly take note. Say name Apprachum Sapon. That's compound, not Sapon. Page 7.
My name is number 262. The Anwatasma is spelled A-N-W-A small t, then the rest continues. They are put a capital T there. I think they are not two names, it's one name. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm sure the table office has got the spelling of his name and what one name. Page 8. Honorable members, yes.
Most grateful, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, please, at page 8, item numbered 7, the second paragraph. Your ruling was very clear. The way it has been captured here, it totally runs at variance to the ruling you gave. The second paragraph here states that the Right Honourable Speaker accordingly declared the New Patriotic Party as the majority group in the House. That's not what the Right Honourable Speaker said. The Right Honourable Speaker said, in addition, the Formina MP, in addition to the MPP wing, then becomes the group, the majority group. So, Mr. Speaker's words, which he carefully chose, should be captured accurately. Because 137, how does one become a majority group? This rendition is misleading. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Right, Honourable
Deputy Majority Leader, yes.
Right, Honourable Speaker. The votes and proceedings reflect the summary of the day's event. The preceding paragraph, which is paragraph 7, answers the concerns of my colleague. The net effect of Mr. Speaker's position regarding clarification from the independent member of parliament was what was clearly captured on paragraph 8. So, Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, we are subject to your guidance, but I don't see anything wrong with what has been captured. But if Mr. Speaker would oblige him on any other matter.
Honourable member, this is talking about a declaration I made. And that declaration has been captured properly by the official. The table office just drew my attention to it. And I'm going to quote what I said, which has been misrepresented, not only by some of you, but also by the Public Affairs Department of Parliament. Please, anytime you are in doubt, ask ASK. I did declare as follows. I stated that the members of the New Patriotic Party, together with the independent member, constitute the majority parliamentary group in the House. That was what I stated.
The last time. It should be SIRIBUOR. I'm grateful, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member, are you sure? Are you sure? I've also seen it spelled this way before.
Yes, please.
But if you insist that's the correct rendition, table office, kindly take note. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. Honorable members, in the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the second meeting of the first session held on Friday, 15 January 2021, as corrected, are adopted as the true records of the proceedings. Honorable members, as stated earlier, the official report of that day's proceedings is not yet ready. And so we will move to item 4 on the order paper. I have updated 2 items under that item on the order paper, but I will to be taken tomorrow. There is a statement standing in the name of Honorable Paul Apreku Chumberma, and then also a motion on a very urgent matter of public interest. But I want that one to be taken tomorrow, not today. And so I will call on the honorable member to make his statement now. Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, barely 4 hours ago, myself as well as many colleagues of mine in this house heard of the sad news of the passing of one of our nation's finest personalities in the sphere of state security and intelligence. He contributed immensely to Ghana's commendable maintenance of protocol. And I believe that I do not speak only for myself when I say that we are deeply saddened that Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh has departed at a time like this. This occurrence, Right Honorable Speaker, though somber, is compelling of a recognition by this esteemed House for many reasons, a few being the technicals of security in our democracy. His numerous contributions, Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh.
Honorable member, please address the chair.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. His numerous contributions to the effective management of national security, as well as the form of interaction some of my colleagues here share with his distinguished personality, whom I eulogize. Right Honorable Speaker, as an administrator, a politician and a security expert, Par Excellence, Mr. Kyeremeh was dedicated and committed to the security of Ghana and focused on his efforts towards ensuring the Ghanaians and indeed all persons among the civil society enjoy security as a basic provision within the state. A devotion he exhibited in some cases at the peril of his own life. Mr. Chairman, commitment and dedication to the security of the state was exhibited through all his career trajectory. Right Honorable Speaker, as a true son of the soil, assumed special responsibility towards the general peace and stability of the country. He therefore put the security of the country first, above everything else, including his own life. Throughout his professional life, Mr. Kyeremeh demonstrated great sense of selflessness, humility, patience, sympathy, and accountability. Right Honorable Speaker, Mr. Kyeremeh, who is a proud product of Kyeremeh, served for over 22 years in security intelligence space. He began as a command officer under the Bureau of National Investigations, now known as National Intelligence Bureau, NIB, in the Northern East, Ashanti, Greater Accra regions, and subsequently rose to become the Deputy Director of BNI before ultimately assuming the role of Director of the BNI from 2005 to 2009. His professionalism and great commitment to duty, coupled with his values, principles, largely contributed to his appointment as the National Security Coordinator by His Excellency President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in 2017. The position he held until his recent demise, the 18th of January 2021. Right Honorable Speaker, Mr. Kyeremeh's contribution to national development in the sphere of security architecture was unparalleled and unprecedented in the history of Ghana. Mr. Kyeremeh was extremely passionate about both the internal and external security of Ghana. With regards to external security, he played a pivotal role in the formation of a security governance initiative, an organization which he co-chaired with the U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Ambassador Stephanie S. Sullivan. Right Honorable Speaker, upon his assumption of office as the National Security Coordinator, Mr. Kyeremeh demonstrated greater commitment to areas such as maritime security, border security, and cyber security. He therefore viewed security in these areas as an emerging threat to Ghana's space and Ghana's peace and stability. Under his tenure, Mr. Kyeremeh spearheaded the creation of the National Integrated Maritime Strategy to protect the country's maritime space. He also spearheaded the formation of National Border Security Strategy for Ghana to ensure maximum security along Ghana's borders. He also initiated the Cyber Risk Assessment Strategy for Ghana. Right Honorable Speaker, Mr. Kyeremeh contributed a great deal in the fight against COVID-19. In Ghana, with some of notable activities carried out during the lockdown periods. With such disciplined security coordination, it was no surprise Ghana was ranked 7th in the fight against COVID under his watch. He was also a key member of the National Security Task Force, which ensured the 2020 general elections. Right Honorable Speaker, Mr. Kyeremeh was not only a colossus in the area of security, but was also an ardent promoter of financial accountability, particularly in the sphere of gold export and revenue generation for the state. Through his leadership and cooperation with the Bank of Ghana, several loopholes in the export of gold were blocked. By 2017, Ghana was able to increase export revenue from $5.1 billion in 2016 to $5.9 billion, a 13% increase. Right Honorable Speaker, Mr. Kyeremeh's principles and values have had and will continue to have great impact and influence on the operations of security intelligence in Ghana. Mr. Chairman, will forever be remembered as one of the outstanding intelligence officers Ghana has ever had within its security architecture under the Fourth Republic. As a great leader, members of Parliament celebrate his enviable achievements, and particularly his great sense of dedication and commitment towards the security and general peace and stability of Ghana. Right Honourable Speaker, members of Parliament, I have deeply studied by the passing of Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh, the National Security Coordinator and the member of the transition team on Monday, 18th January 2021. Our deepest condolences go to his family, the New Patriotic Party, the government of Ghana led by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, indeed Ghana and his entire family have lost a gem and an excellent leader. Honourable Speaker, I would like crave your indulgence to permit the House to like to observe a minute silence to the memory of this great man. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Please, Honourable Members, this statement was admitted under the letter and spirit of Order 71. It's a statement to eulogize the loss of one of our illustrious sons. And so please, contributions, remarks should be in that spirit. Guidance from leadership, how many should we take? But I see the Honourable James Agalga on his feet. Yes, Honourable.
Right Honourable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the statement ably made by the Honourable Paul Apreku Chumberima on the sad occasion of the demise of Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh, the National Security Coordinator. Mr. Speaker, I share in the grief of the entire country, particularly the government of President Nana Akufo-Addo, who appointed Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh to the enviable position of National Security Coordinator in 2017. Mr. Speaker, I have worked very closely with Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh in my capacity as the immediate past ranking member for the Select Committee on Defense and Interior, which had oversight responsibility over the Ministry of National Security, of which Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh was a part. Mr. Speaker, the few times we engaged at the level of the committee, I can bear testimony to the humility of Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh. He was very quiet and unassuming, but to a large extent very principled. These are the genuine testimonies I can give in respect of the character of the man who is now deceased. Mr. Speaker, we are told Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh died of the COVID-19 virus. It is sad to know that as one of the Ministry of National Security, which also had responsibility to devise strategies for the country's fight against the pandemic, would himself fall victim to the virus. What the demise of Mr. Kyeremeh
shows is that the virus is indeed no respecter of persons, regardless of your status in society. It tells the Speaker to take the protocols of the COVID-19 pandemic very, very, very seriously for the security and safety of our country. Mr. Speaker, the maker of the statement alluded to some of the accomplishments of Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh. And I would want to add that apart from his contribution towards the adoption of the National Integrated Maritime Strategy, border security and cyber security strategies, he also played a pivotal role towards the formulation of the counter-terrorism strategy for our country. Mr. Speaker, we are all aware that terrorism has become an existential threat to our country. And so, when we started making calls for a strategy to be formulated, and the Minister for National Security, the Honorable Kandapa, were very forceful in that regard. And so today, if we have a counter-terrorism strategy in place, we need to commend highly the efforts put in place by the Minister, Honorable Kandapa, and of course, the late Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh. I need to make mention of the fact that the two also played a very important role towards the revision and the reenactment of the National Security and Intelligence Agencies Bill into law into the deeds of the 7th Parliament of the 4th Republic, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh has played his part. He served as an intelligence officer for 20 solid years. He rose to become director of the former BNI, now National Intelligence, and eventually became the National Security Coordinator. Mr. Speaker, the country has indeed lost a great son, and we must all join hands in consoling his family and the government of our republic. Having said all these words, Mr. Speaker, and in conclusion, I'd like to indicate that my relationship with Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh, and of course the Minister for National Security, from time to time went frosty, especially with respect to issues that cropped up in the wake of the Ayawaso West Wogompa elections and the issues that arose therefrom. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, today, Mr. Kyeremeh has been called by our Maker. It is my prayer that the good Lord will receive him in his bosom. Until we meet again, with those few words, I say, Damire Fadue.
The Honorable Defense, Honorable Dominic Mitchell.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to, on a rather sad note, contribute to the statement made by my colleague, Paul Afriku Chum Brema, on the demise of my friends, my working colleague, and very good confidant in security matters of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, I came to know Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh when both of us became appointees of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in January 2017. I must say that I enjoyed working with this fine
humble and very intelligent gentleman when it came to issues of security. Let me say that he was a preeminent individual when it came to issues of security because he walked and learned through the ropes from the beginning of his career to the pinnacle of that career. He was an embodiment of knowledge of security matters. Difficult as it may have seemed in managing security over the last 4 years, Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh discharged extremely very well as the National Security Coordinator. As my colleagues stated, in fact the two colleagues stated, Mr. Speaker, 7, 8, or even 6 years ago, issues of terrorism in Ghana would not have been an issue. No minister would have slept and be thinking about terrorism. But Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh became the National Security Coordinator at a time that terrorism was knocking out our doorsteps. And so, together with the National Security Minister and the Interior Minister, we had to devise, Mr. Speaker, ways and means and plans to ensure that this country remained peaceful and free from the issue of terrorism that was swallowing up countries around West Africa and extremely knocking at our doorsteps and as close as 5 kilometers to the shores of Ghana and to the borders of Ghana. He was a brilliant man in submissions. Anytime you had the opportunity to engage him in security matters, he had eyes for details, and surprisingly, he was a very quiet man who deferred to authority but still make his point forcefully as well, sure that the right thing is always done, Mr. Speaker. Let me say we've lost a gem. Ghana has lost a gem, the family has lost a gem, a very experienced individual. Presidents would always want to entrust the safety of their country, the safety of their individuals in the country, the safety of citizens to test, tried and tested human beings, tested officers. And Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh, I believe, as we all seen and we all saw over the last 4 years, discharged his duties very well. Personally, I guess a lot of us here may not even have known him or even have heard of the name before. That tells you the extent to which he did his work and did it well. Because that is the hallmark of a very good intelligence officer. Because he will sit by you, thinking, you know, he's the security coordinator. Mr. Speaker, this is a man who I would always have in my heart. His presence will remain in our hearts. We, those who had the privilege of working with him in the security subsector, and those who have the privilege of working with Miss Work. Over the last 1 month, he successfully, together with others, steered our electioneering processes in terms of security to a very successful conclusion. Of course, with difficult challenges, because 2020 election was not just an ordinary election, but we came out as a united country and we will move forward as a united country. Mr. Speaker, as he has departed to his maker, and we believe he will be seated at the right-hand side of the Father, we want, and on behalf of myself, my family, and my friends, wish him and the entire family condolences. Wish them the best. We never expected this would happen. As we all get sick, he reported to the hospital not feeling well, only to have the news that we have today. This statement would have been made when the family would have done all and made all preparations, and we know the dates and we know the times, so that together we can all go and mourn with the family. But be it as is may, we are making the statement because of the importance we attach to this man and what he has stood for over the last, especially 4 years, when he was entrusted to coordinate the security architecture of the National Security Council. And Mr. Speaker, Desmond to say that his peers around West Africa, his peers around the country, and his peers around the world have given thumbs up to what he has done. And we do hope that his successor will live up to the standards set by Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh. I want to wish the family well and to say that what we are witnessing today should never be repeated. Though we know, as human beings, that one day would all go. But you don't want to wake up and hear the news that a very healthy, strong-looking person parted. Of course, I'm waiting for the family, Mr. Speaker, to tell us the cost of death, or the doctors to say those things. But whatever it is, Mr. Speaker, I believe that we as members of Parliament must take precautions ourselves. We, in times of COVID-19, Mr. Speaker, interact with people more than many average Ghanaians. And so, as we mourn the departed, eulogize the departed, we should know that the memory of the dead is a warning to the living. And so, we should take care of our health and ensure that tomorrow we are not being eulogized on this floor. Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank you for to mourn my friends, to mourn my colleague, and to bid him farewell. And may God richly bless him and guide him wherever he may be until we meet again. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I thought leadership was going to forego the privilege, but if you insist, definitely one from each side of the house. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, very brief. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to support the statement by contributing to eulogize our fallen hero, the National Security Coordinator, Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh. Mr. Speaker, it is said that when you have peace, you sometimes take for granted what it is. You, in its absence, what will be visited on you. For our fallen hero to have served as the director for the then PNI, which is today the National Investigative Bureau, and to also serve between 2005 and 2009, and to also serve as the National Security Coordinator from 2017 to date, it clearly shows how much he has contributed to the maintenance of security within our country. It is just sad that we had to lose him under circumstances that is not very clear, but you hear people talk about radio and TV. Something that he has fought so well during the lockdown to ensure that Ghanaians stay safe. Unfortunately, he has to lose his life in the way and manner that it happened. The Speaker, as someone who has served in the security services or intelligence community for 22 years, it clearly shows that he has really contributed his quota to the development of our country. And it is only right that as a parliament we eulogize Mr. Joshua Kyeremeh. And it is our prayer that the family will be strong. The security or intelligence community will extend our condolences to them, and to remind each and every one of us that what will we be remembered for when we are gone. Serving your country is a great privilege. Just like many of us, or all of us in this chamber, are getting the opportunity to do. But serving and serving very well is even more pleasing. It's our hope that all of us will continue to give in our very best to the development of our country. Speaker, I just want to add that COVID is real. COVID is very real. And Mr. Speaker, we need to take measures very seriously. Because the tendency is that because we are serving the communities, sometimes you go to a community and you see virtually nobody is in the nose mask, they are not following the protocol, and there are those who are quick to tell you, oh, MP, why are you covering your face? I think we need to intensify measures to ensure that all of us continue to stay safe. Mr. Speaker, with these few comments, I want to pray that our brother, the comrade that has fallen, the hero, the security expert will rest well and demonstrate faith. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority.
Speaker, thank you for your kindness. And on a rather sad note, I rise to support the statement and to share in the grief that members have spoken to. Speaker, for the fleeting period I have known Mr. Kyeremeh, calm, very intelligent, and a man who has shown as a person who understands the job he does. I was struck when news got to me, and I want to use this opportunity to express our deepest condolence to the family, His Excellency the President, and all loved ones. Speaker, I recall vividly a few occasions where I had issues in my constituency, and any time I had approached him, his sense of control and comportment is something that you can admire. And more often than not, his professional advice has come forth and on a regular basis. I recall his effective coordination of security and matters bordering on security during the 2020 election. Facilitated the signing of an MOU among our security agencies, which for some time has posed a challenge to us as a country. I am aware of the role he also played in the interagency task force, which was mandated to control and support and facilitate the gold exportation and repatriation. So clearly he's a man who has distinguished himself. He's not somebody that we know so much of, but indeed distinguished himself in the execution of his official duties. Speaker, by extension, we also want to extend a hand of condolence to many of our compatriots who have fallen due to COVID. And we are confident that this would also pass, and Ghana as a country will scale over this wall. Speaker, I'm aware of a technical group put together by His Excellency the President, and there are very good preparations and plans underway to ensure that there is good acquisition and distribution of the vaccines discovered. And it's only a matter of time that these vaccines will be rolled out appropriately. Speaker, let me conclude by urging all of us here as opinion leaders, pastors, imams, group leaders, church leaders, to probably take a cue from what His Excellency the President has been doing, regularly carrying the legs and Ghanaians along and educating us on the dangers associated with COVID. I'm sure if you all play our role as a clarion call and we do our part, eventually Ghana will emerge as a winner. But at this stage, it's a critical time in the life of this country. It's a critical time in the life of the world for all of us to come together in unison and fight against this deadly disease. So with these words, I support the maker of the statement. Thank you.
Honorable members, COVID-19 is real and it is deadly. Let's, as leaders, lead by example. That is all I can add to the statement. I want to, on behalf of the House and Parliament as a whole, extend our deepest condolences to the immediate family, particularly the widow and children, and to all Ghanaians for such a painful loss. I want to grant the request of the maker of the statement and crave the indulgence of all members here to let's rise up and observe a minute's silence in memory of this great man. May his soul and the souls of all departed rest in perfect peace. Amen. Honorable members, as stated earlier on, I also admitted a motion on a very urgent matter of public interest. But I decided that it should be done tomorrow. And it is on payment of fees. Of students, entrance into public education institutions, and the continuing students of those institutions for the 2021 academic year as part of our efforts, national effort to get COVID relief. And so the motion will be placed for tomorrow. And I want to urge members to let's have a very commendable debate on the motion tomorrow. With that, I move to commencement of public business. Item 5, of papers. The following papers to be presented. 5A, by the chairman of the committee, report of the Committee of Selection on the composition of the appointments and business committees.
With respect, the report is not ready. Would crave your indulgence for leadership to confer on some thorny issues and revert for the appropriate steps to be taken, Mr. Speaker. Sure. If you indulge us.
Yes, Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I'm surprised that we are further deferring this matter. But arguably, under the standing orders of this House, you are chairman of the selection committee. And the selection, as you may recall, one of your very first meetings with leadership from both sides of the aisle was to deal with the urgent matters of the appointments committee, which is a requirement of Order 172 of our standing orders. It reads, and with your indulgence, there shall be a committee to be known as the appointments committee.
Honorable Minority Leader, let's wait until we get the report. Honorable members, we are constrained by the standing orders. And so until we pass the new standing orders, there are some dark areas in the current dark side. And I want to plead with leaders that we cannot stand and stare. I will soon suspend the House. We have to resolve this issue, and then we'll come back with the report for us to take the decision as a House. So I plead with you not to go into the details of why the report is not ready, so that we can, in conclave, try to resolve those issues. Yes, you see, you want to say something? Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I will take a cue from you, but until new standing orders are adopted, we are enjoined and bound by the existing standing orders. I thank you.
Surely what I stated, I say we are constrained by the standing orders. There are dark areas, but if we sit together and dialogue, we could resolve this issue. My attention was drawn to it by the table office. So I'll soon suspend sitting for us to look at it and then come back today to try and set up those committees. What about item 5B? It's also not ready.
Yes, obviously these are consequential.
So which act? Or I proceed to suspend the House for 30 minutes?
30 minutes.
30 minutes, 1 hour?
1 hour. Mr. Speaker, an hour suspension.
1 hour, it's not by that. 1 hour.
1 hour. 1 hour. 1 hour. Yes. No, 1 hour. Maximum 1 hour. We come back.
1 hour is okay.
Whatever. 30 minutes, 1 hour. It's okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, 1 hour is too much. Because the selection committee met, you chaired it, so I don't think they talk about. So we should go for maybe maximum 30 minutes.
For 10 minutes. And so we'll take how many minutes?
I'm suggesting 30 minutes maximum.
30 minutes. I believe we could solve this issue in less than even 30 minutes. So I'm inviting the leadership of the House to meet me now in the lobby, in my lobby, to resolve these issues. With that, the House stands suspended for 30 minutes, time being 3:17, and therefore we have to be back in 30 minutes time. Please, honorable members, take note. Time is of essence in these matters. Honorable members, welcome back. from the suspension of sitting, we rather took a lengthy time in conferring with leadership of the House. I believe that we've charted a path, and we'll be taking item 5A today. So let's move to item 5A, which deals with the following papers to be presented by the chairman of the committee, report of the Committee of Selection on the composition of the Appointments and Business Committee. I am going to, because I'm the chair of the committee, and since I'm presiding, I will not be able to lay the paper. And so the honorable member for Tamas South, the leader of the minority group, will lay the report on my behalf, and with the understanding of the conferment, he will move the report on behalf of the chairman of the committee, my good self.
Report of the Committee of Selection, position of appointments and business committees.
The report has been laid and is for distribution to members of the House.
You need to use on the report.
I'm reliably informed that the report has been distributed to members. I will propose we give 5 minutes. It's a very short report, and then we proceed to the procedural motion on item 6. Now, leader of the minority caucus to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that, notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 81, which require that no motion shall be debated until at least 48 hours have elapsed between the date on which notice of the motion is given and the date on which the motion is moved. The motion for the adoption of the report of the Committee of Selection on the composition of the Appointments and Business Committee may be moved today. I beg to move.
Any seconder?
Right Honourable Speaker, I beg to second the motion.
Motion moved and seconded is for the consideration of the House. As I stated earlier on, it's a procedural motion. And so I crave your indulgence to put the question. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The motion is adopted. We now move to item 7 on the order paper. Motion. The same leader to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this Honourable House adopts the report of the Commission on the composition of the Appointments and Business Committee, and in doing so to seek your leave to present the committee's report on your behalf. Mr. Speaker, I'll go through the introduction. In accordance with Article 103 of the 1992 Constitution and Order 1 of the Standing Orders of the House, the Committee of Selection was appointed on Friday, 15 January 2021 to compose and other committees of the House. Pursuant to Order 1512 of the Standing Orders of the House, the committee met and composed the Business Committee and Appointment Committee in accordance with Order 160 and 172 respectively. Deliberations. In its deliberations, the committee was guided by the formula adopted by the House on Friday, 15 January 2021 for the composition of the membership of committees. The committee was also guided by Article 1035 of the 1992 Constitution and Standing Order 154 or Order 154 of the Standing Orders of the House, which require that the composition of the committee shall as much as possible reflect the different shades of opinion in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, recommendations. The committee, after thorough deliberations, recommend as follows: that the Standing Orders of Parliament be reviewed in earnest. The revision will have numerical consequences on the composite committees of the House. That considering the urgent need to facilitate the business of the House and that of government, the committee in the meantime composes the membership of the Business Committee and Appointments Committee to the House for approval. That the two committees will work in the interim passage of the review standing orders and will stand dissolved upon the coming into force of the new standing orders. That into force of the review standing orders, the committee will submit to the House the list of the chairman, vice chairman, and other members of the committee of the House. That the approved ratio of 138-137 and the conventions and practices of the House, 20 members of the Business Committee works out to 10 members for each caucus, while members of the Appointments Committee works out to 13 members for each caucus. VI, that the composition of the two committees are captured in the tables 1 and 2 below. Mr. Speaker, Table 1, Business Committee. It has the Honorable Osaiche Mensah-Bonsu, Chairman, Honorable Alexander Kwamina Afenyo-Markin, Vice Chairperson, Honorable Frank Anodompe, Member, Honorable Lydia Sirem-Alasan, Member, Honorable Moses Enim, Member, Honorable Mavis Hawa-Kumsen, Member, Honorable Alex Tete Do, Member, Honorable Joseph Kujo, Member, Honorable Mavis and Council Budu, Member, Honorable Habib Idrisu, Member, Honorable James Kluche, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, Ranking Member, Honorable James Kluche Aveji, Deputy Ranking Member, Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, Mohammed Mubarak Muntaka, Honorable Ahmed Ibrahim, Honorable Dela Sowa, Member, Honorable Abdul Rashid Pepo, Member, Honorable Jocelyn Tete, Member, Honorable Eric Afo, Member, Honorable Zenato Rollis, Dr. Zenato Rollis, Member, and Adama Ramadan, Member. Mr. Speaker, they will constitute the Business Committee of the House. Mr. Speaker, Appointments Committee. It has Honorable First Deputy Speaker as Chairman, Honorable Alexander Kobna Afenyo-Markin, Vice Chairperson, Honorable John Ntim Fojo, Member, Frank Anodompe, Member, Honorable Patrick Yabuama, Member, Honorable Matthew O. Prempe, Doctor, Member, Honorable Henry Kote, Member, Honorable Brian Achempo, Member, Honorable Ursula G. Owusu Ekufo, Member, Honorable Patricia Apiaje, Member, Honorable Osai-Bonsu Amua, Member, Honorable Alasan Tampuli Sulemana, Member, Honorable John Amponyo Kuma, Member, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, Ranking Member, Honorable M. Mubarak Muntaka, Deputy Ranking, Honorable Mahama Yaga, Member, Honorable Samson Ayi, Member, Honorable Eric Opoku, Member, Honorable Elizabeth Ofusu-Ejari, Member, Honorable James Agaga, Member, Honorable Edwin N.L. Vanderpoy, Member, Honorable Samuel Kujato Ablakwa, Member, Honorable Alasan Suhine, Member, Honorable Francis Xavier Kujo Susu, Member, Honorable Zuera Mohammed Ibrahim, Member, and Honorable Gisela Tete Agochi, Member. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, the committee respectfully recommends to the House to adopt and approve the membership of the Business and Appointments Committee as composed based on the approved ratio of 138-137, subject to the recommendations made. Respectively submitted, Mr. Speaker, on your behalf, Right Honorable Alban Sumana, Kingsford Bagbe. I beg to move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder?
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to second the motion. And in seconding this motion, I am guided by the conclusion of your committee's report, which conclusion refers to an approved ratio of 138-137. Mr. Speaker, I shall invite you to determine a preliminary matter I have in respect of page 4, table 2 of your committee's report. Mr. Speaker, my preliminary matter, which invitation I make for your consideration, is anchored on the combined effects of Order 172, 154, and 109, subclause 3. For the avoidance of doubt, and with your leave, Mr. Speaker, I shall first read Order 154 of our rules. of our rules reads: the composition of the committee shall, as much as possible, reflect the different shades of opinion in Parliament. And Order 172 of our rules also provides that there shall be a committee to be known as the Appointments Committee, composed of the First Deputy Speaker as chairman and not more than 25 other members. Order 1093 provides, and I quote, a deputy speaker or any other member presiding shall not retain his original vote while presiding. So, Mr. Speaker, my position is that, having regard to the membership of the appointment committee, vis-a-vis the conclusion of your committee's report, the ratio thereto, I invite you to hold that the deputy speaker who chairs the committee, per the language of our standing order, is not a member by virtue of he not having a voting right. Mr. Speaker, if you hold this to be the correct position of the language of the standing orders, that will leave us with a membership of 25, which therefore will mean that, Mr. Speaker, having held that the membership tentatively is 25, the committee can therefore be composed of 1312 in accordance with the provisions thereto stated in the conclusion of the report. Mr. Speaker, I am particularly distinguishing the language used in Order 172 as against the other provisions on the composition of committees, which is categorical, that membership shall be, say, 1820, and in that order. And Mr. Speaker, in making this argument, I am not unaware of reference of this House. The practice, as Hansard will bear out, is that in the past, membership of the committee had included the chairman of the committee. Yes, that is so. The chairman of the committee having voting rights, although there was an express caveat by our standing orders. The practice, Mr. Speaker, I repeat my argument for those who are not paying attention, that although the provision in our standing orders, which I've quoted supra, makes reference to a deputy speaker and 25 others. And Mr. Speaker, I further went to Order 1093, which talks about voting, and that distinguished the position and said that when you are the deputy speaker presiding, you don't have voting rights. All I am saying is that distinction is clear. But, Mr. Speaker, the position again in terms of practice and convention, and Mr. Speaker, this is a point I want to underscore. This report, in arriving at the 26-member committee composition for the appointment committee, is also fortifying itself by practice and convention, and which, Mr. Speaker, I have no problem at all. I have no problem at all. I am only drawing the attention of Mr. Speaker Mr. Speaker, I am only drawing the attention of Mr. Speaker to the fact that in view, Mr. Speaker, in view of the express provisions as quoted supra, is it the pleasure of this august house? Is it the pleasure of this august house to rely on our practice and place this express provisions on ice? That is a question, and which I want to invite Mr. Speaker to consider. Mr. Speaker, to conclude, I must state that our side is in that mood and spirit of consensus building, and are guided by Mr. Speaker's admonition and that of His Excellency the President. If members will pay attention to the preliminary matter I raised, I had no problem at all with table 1 at page 3 of the committee's report. OT bless. If you have any problem, rise and speak into the mic. Mr. Speaker, he must not shout across. Mr. Speaker, when the minority leader was on his feet, we outside respected your direction. This reckless, loud noise must stop. If you want to raise an objection, I'll sit for you. But Mr. Speaker, they shouldn't do that. Mr. Speaker, what we are saying is that,
Honourable Member for Efutu, you are addressing the chair. The language you use so far are not words meant for the chair. And so may you kindly withdraw that and proceed.
Mr. Speaker, without any hesitation, I comply with your order, withdrawing the aspect of my submission to the effect that my colleague Otibles was recklessly heckling me. And Mr. Speaker, having withdrawn, I want to draw your attention to the fact that we must do everything humanly possible to comply with your admonition, that we must listen to each other in silence. And our side did that to Honourable Minority Leader Harry Etrisu. He shouldn't be shouting at President. So I'm just drawing attention. So, Mr. Speaker, I may want to conclude by saying that in bringing this matter to your attention, we do so in good faith and within the spirit of consensus building as agreed to by both sides of the House. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, your pleasure in the very matter I have raised, if it is considered, then mutatis mutandis, table 2 at page at page 4 reflects a 13-12 for the majority caucus. Mr. Speaker, having said all of these, I conclude by saying that I second the motion ably moved by my respected colleague Kyeremeh.
Honourable members, motion moved and seconded is now for the consideration of the House. How many people are you expected to leadership so that we can program the debate? 10-10. You are saying 10. 10 from each side of the House. What is the position? 3. 3 from each side of the House. Yes. Chief Whip for the Minority Caucus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak to the motion before us and support the report of the Selection Committee. Now, Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, before I do that, there's a small correction that needed to be made, and I want to draw the attention of the House. In Business Committee, item 20, the name is not Honorable Adama Ramadan, it's Honorable Adamu Ramadan, so that the Hansard Department may correct that name. Having said it, Mr. Speaker,
kindly the spelling of 19 on the same table 1.
Yes, is Z-A, right? Zenato. Z-A-N-E. Is Z-A-N-E, not Z-E-N-A. Yes. So, yes, that should also be corrected. And I want to believe that probably we might have slipped in it, and the hazard of it, since they have the full name of members, they may capture them appropriately. Mr. Speaker, I want to try to take us through what my colleague, the Deputy Leader of Government Business, was talking about. And Mr. Speaker, I will start with Order 109. Mr. Speaker, where he was talking about Order 109.3, and with your indulgence, I quote, a deputy state other member presiding shall not retain his original vote whilst presiding. Mr. Speaker, if he overstretches this explanation, what will mean is that in every committee of this House, you have to discount the chair of the committee before you apply the formula. So when you do that, we have approximately in the current standing orders, averagely 33 committees, meaning that from the word go, we will be excluding 33 members of this House from being part of the formula of which their numbers have been added. And that is why the practice of this House, the Speaker, has always been that these chairpersons have always voted. Because, Mr. Speaker, it is in respect of Order 200, to help my colleague, where it says, in committees, the standing orders of the House shall be observed so far as may be. It did not say that the rule in 109 must apply in committees, so far as applicable. And Mr. Speaker, I want to remind my colleague that in the application of the standing orders of this House, we have said it time without number that we are masters of our own rules. And there are a number of times we vary, just like we just did. We stand down others, we amend some of them. But Mr. Speaker, with specific example of the Appointments Committee, Mr. Speaker, with all humility, I have the greatest privilege of having served on this committee for 16 years. I've been on this committee when the then Deputy Speaker, Freddie Bray, was the chair. And Mr. Speaker, and I do remember very well, you were leading us as then the minority leader. Every single time he voted. It came to Right Honorable Speaker Do Ajao as then the chair. I was there as first Deputy Speaker. And each time it became necessary for voting, he had voted. Then came to Honorable Baton Oduro as the first Deputy Speaker. And I was there, Mr. Speaker. Each time it became necessary for voting, he voted. Before, lastly, my good friend, Honorable Joe Osaiusu from the Kwai, in the just ended Parliament, 7th Parliament, each time it became necessary, he had voted. And the Speaker, of all of them, each time we needed quorum, they counted themselves to be able to obtain quorum. And Mr. Speaker, I want to also remind my colleague, the various standing orders that he quoted, Order 172. Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, I quote, there shall be a committee to be known as the Appointments Committee, composed of the first Deputy Speaker as chairperson, and not more than 25 other members.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't get the privilege to go to the best of schools. I started at Ababu LA.
Correct.
When it says and other members, it meant that the chair is a member.
Yes.
So the member, the chair being a member, in applying the formula, how do you exclude him? Because if you do, you automatically are going to distort the formula. And Mr. Speaker, I have in my hand the report of this House on composition of committee, report of the Committee of Selection on the recomposition of committees of the House. And Mr. Speaker, 2017, the number then, Mr. Speaker, was 169 and 106. And Mr. Speaker, when you presented it, the 169 gave us 61%. And then the 106 gave us 39%. And when you apply it to the 26, it gave our colleagues then opposite 16 members. And then gave us, with 106, 10 members. Not excluding the chair.
Yes, a minute. Honourable Member for Efutu.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, ordinarily, my has his liberties in advancing his argument. But I thought that to the extent that he misquoted me under Order 172, it is important that the records are set straight. If he disagreed, then that was not a problem. But once he misquoted, Mr. Speaker, the 172 is a mandatory provision. And if you read 109, which he misquoted me, it reads, a deputy speaker or any other member presiding shall not. That is the language which I refer to with the speaker. Mr. Speaker, with respect, I am only saying that disagree, but don't misquote the position I have stated. I didn't say that it was not a mandatory. I conjoined it and gave it a conjunctive meaning. I didn't separate it the way you are, and don't attribute that to me. That is all I want to do. Simple. Yes, but I just want him to do the needful, argue, but don't misquote my position.
Yes, Honourable Member for Asawasi, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when you quoted 109, it applies to this chamber. But I was leading him to where it could be applied in a committee. And that was why I took him to Order 200. Because it is Order 200 of this House that says that, Mr. Speaker, for the avoidance of that, want to quote again, in committees, the standing orders of the House shall be observed so far as may be applicable. So I was then saying, the 109 with this 200 is saying that in committees, as much as possible, the rules that you apply in the chamber, let it apply there. And so when it was making this reference, it used may, meaning that it's not every single thing that you apply in the chamber here that is it can be applicable in the committee. That's why it said may. It says so far as may be applicable. And that's why I was saying that when you look at the application of these standing orders, Mr. Speaker, three things guide this House. First, the Constitution of this country, the 1992 Constitution. Second is the standing orders of this House. And third, very important, is our practices. What we have come to mean to be an established rule that we all use in application. And that's what I'm saying, that if you look at our 1992 Constitution, Article 104.2, Mr. Speaker, Article 104.2, when it was talking about voting, the Constitution in Article 104.2, and Mr. Speaker, I read, the Speaker shall have neither an original nor casting vote. Meaning that our Constitution recognizes that apart from Mr. Speaker, every single one of us must have a vote. And that is why when you go to the committee, our practice has always been consistent with this Constitution, where our chairpersons have always voted. And that's why I cited an example of all our predecessors in the appointments committee. So, Mr. Speaker, if today we found ourselves with 137 members from the MPP and then 137 from the NDC, with one independent who had decided to do business with our colleagues from the MPP, when you even add for the application of committee numbers, it gives you 138, 137. And Mr. Speaker, when you reduce it to how we've always done in this House, the percentages, it gives you 50.1 for our colleags in the MPP and 49.89. And every time in this House, I remember in the ratio was 55-45, in the 7th Parliament it was 60-40. We always run them to the nearest whole number. If you are running 50.1 to the nearest whole number, it takes you to 50. If you are running 49.89 to the nearest whole number, it takes you to 50. And that is why the 26 membership of the committee was agreed in the selection committee to be 13 on both sides of the House. And in the business committee, also 10-10. Mr. Speaker, let me state, it is part of this reason that all of us in leadership had agreed that we should expedite the action on the new standing orders. And if I remember very well, we agreed that we should give ourselves, by the close of this week, latest, not exceeding next week, to be able to take care of the challenges that we find ourselves. My plea with our colleagues opposite, especially the leadership, is that the difficulty we have is when we go into a meeting and we agree, then later becomes like an afterthought. It becomes a problem. Because in the selection, in the committee of selection, as it took place in Mr. Speaker's conference room, all my colleague, the deputy leader, was there. The leader of government business was there. We agreed to this 13. Yes, as we always say in this chamber, agreeing in a committee doesn't take away your right to disagree when you get to the floor. But I believe that we need to start well by trying to get our basics and fundamentals right, so that as we proceed, there will be many more committees that will be coming, where you will be having all numbers. And my view, and I believe that it will be a very fair position, that if you have 4 25-member committees, 2 of them she will have 13 for our colleagues in MPP, and 2 of them should also have 13 for our members on the NDC, so that it creates equity. If we are not careful and we want to take every committee and be arguing the way we are doing, it will mean that when we are going to do these committees, to be able to finish. So, Mr. Speaker, in line with our standing orders and the practice of this House, I believe that the report, your report that came from the selection committee is absolutely right, and we all need to support it. With this comment, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the opportunity to have contributed to a statement. Thank you very much.
The 2 of you, who is senior? Are you saying that you were born on the same day? Were you born on the same day? Honorable Katie Hammond, by virtue of age, not in the House, by virtue of age, by birth, you get the first bite. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there was a matter that I intended to have drawn your attention to, bring to your attention the last time. It escaped my mind. So whilst we are at it, I may as well mention it to you. Mr. Speaker, you did indicate that the ability of members of this House going forward to catch your eye would be predicated by good behavior, and that you're also going to make sure that
I use the word includes, not predicated. Yes.
Very well. Includes good behavior, and then you also put a beyond argument that you will insist on the members behaving properly, Mr. Speaker, in this House. I was wondering if you would give some serious consideration towards appointing me as the class captain, the Speaker, to look after them. So I will give you constant updates, and you agree. Class captain, it's been agreed. Yeah, we. All right. It's concluded, Mr. Speaker. So henceforth, class captain, I report to you about the unruly boys, not the girls. The girls who may be looking for class prefect. Whether from there or from here, you will decide on that. But going forward, I am the class captain, and I'm going to look after the unruly boys and report to you. Mr. Speaker, then we come to the matter in hand. Mr. Speaker, it has been argued forth that conventionally, what has been going on is that the person who chairs this particular committee, the Speaker, has been voting together with all the other members of the committee. I venture to pose the question. I mean, that the fact that we have after a year be doing something which may not be legal validate what we have been doing. I think what the deputy leader on this side, the Speaker, has brought to your attention is crucial. Because, Speaker, going back to your original life, not the reincarnated one. I'm looking at the you and I have been in this House. We don't recall a particular house of this parliament that we've had a situation like this. I don't recall. So this is really a unique situation, Mr. Speaker, we find ourselves in. Speaker, I would add on to what my colleague has clearly put to the House and to you. I reinforce it that we should determine, at least for once, whether what has been the practice, Mr. Speaker, has been the law. It has only been a convention. But of course, you can repeat convention as many times as you want. It can never fossilize, Mr. Speaker, into the legal position. So you would have the privilege and the opportunity of ruling on it today, whether it was the law or it was the convention.
If it was simply a convention, then what is the actual legal position which we should abide by? There's another point which is, for me, critical in all of this. The lawyers would normally say granting but not admitting. I don't like that. It's a cliche that doesn't sit well in my mouth. I don't like it. But you always hear them talking about granting that but admitting and whatever. But what I mean, Mr. Speaker, really is that let's assume for the purpose of this argument that the Speaker, it is the legal position and that the first Deputy Speaker presiding on this particular committee, the Speaker has an original vote. I'm asking, does he then also have a casting vote? This seems to me to be very important. Because so these are the matters that I would invite you to look at. If it was always the law and that he always had the vote, it's fine, then we will start with what we have now, 1313. If it wasn't and it was a convention, what is the law you would indicate? But if it is and it's 1313, is it the situation that then he has a casting vote? If it does, the matter is resolved for good as far as I'm concerned. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Mama Yarga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion that we adopt your committee's report and to add the issues that have been raised by the deputy leader of the majority group as causing fear do not arise at all, Mr. Speaker. They do not arise because, as indicated by Honorable Mohammed Mubarak Muntaka, the Constitution is clear on the voting rights or otherwise of the Speaker. The Speaker has no original or casting vote. Now the question is, what in relation to the chairperson of a committee? And again, Mr. that is also not in issue because the standing orders are very clear on that one also. Order 2115 of the standing orders says clearly, Mr. Speaker, that the chairman shall not have an original vote, but in the event of an equality of votes, he shall give a casting vote. So the chairman shall not have an original vote. But when there is a tie, the chairman has a casting vote. So the issue is resolved, Mr. Speaker. The issue is clearly resolved. And if he has been voting, I believe he has been voting within the context of where there is a tie, and then he exercises his casting vote. And therefore, we have not been doing the wrong things. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kyeremeh Japan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak on the issue at stake here. I have a fun with the composition of the committee. The conclusion says the committee respectfully recommends to the House to adopt this report and approve the membership of the Business and Appointment Committee as composed based on the approval ratio of 138 and 137, subject to the recommendations made. Mr. Speaker, what is the ratio of 138 and 137? The report here clearly indicates that there is no importance of the independent candidate working with MPP. Case closed. That is what is here. The report, yes, the report from Mr. Speaker, my mathematics My mathematics is 50.11 and 49.89. Yes. So, this is simple as it don't be mathematics. And if, Mr. Speaker, if it is not important, why would you say that an independent candidate has opted to work with a particular party to be the majority? So, first of all, Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, I think it should be odd. Members, now let us listen carefully. If you have 13-13 and there's issue on the floor, NDC will vote 13, MPP will vote. Hold on, please. Please. This, Mr. Speaker. There will be a stalemate before you build a consensus. Why would you even want to arrive at stalemate before you build consensus? No. So, Mr. Speaker, I think we have to be careful in dealing with this issue here. Because 50.11 it's not. If it is 50-50, why would you then say a ratio of, Mr. Speaker, the ratio of 138-137? It doesn't give you 50-50. It doesn't give you 50-50. Mr. Speaker, a ratio of 138-137 is not 50-50. If it is 50-50, Honorable Butaka would have not used the word ratio. He would have said 50-50. But because you know that there's going to be a decimal point while you use the word ratio. And if you are using the ratio, Mr. Speaker, then instead of making a fundamental mistake to build consensus, I am of the opinion that, Mr. Speaker, the number should be odd. It should be 25. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rest my case.
Honorable Emmanuel Bejira.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the motion and also add my voice to the debate. Mr. Speaker, this is a house of record. And as we always have people at the gallery to take whatever we do in this house. Every mathematician will tell you that 50.1, when you run it up, becomes 50. And 49.87, when you run it up, becomes 50%. And therefore today, we are being told in this house that 50.1 should be 50 plus 1. That's exactly what our colleagues are telling us. And as a house of record, Mr. Speaker, we must all admit that 50.1% will always be 50.1. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, I have looked at your committee's report and table 4, Mr. Speaker, table 2 on page 4. I've noticed something, Mr. Speaker, that my colleagues from the other side, having regard for women, gender on their side, have only 2 ladies on this table. And I can count more than 2 ladies on their side. But when it comes, Mr. Speaker, to our side, we have 3 ladies coming from our side. I was expecting, Mr. Speaker, that as gender sensitive as they are, they will be arguing that they should take one of the male out
and add another female to it, making 3. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, this House, over the years, we said we want to give opportunity to those who come fresh so that they can learn from us. I've also noticed that, Mr. Speaker, the first timers from their side are only 2, and the first timers from our side are 3. This alone shows that the people or the caucus on your left side have regard for first timers and for gender, whilst our colleagues on the other side do not have respect for gender and for first timers. Mr. Speaker, I want to plead with my colleagues to take the table back and replace one of the male with a female. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honorable member behind, he's been standing. Is that Honorable Kujo?
Mr. Speaker, thanks for the opportunity. I would like to draw the attention of the House to statistics, use of statistics, which involves rounding off decimals when human beings are involved. Mr. Speaker, as a common example, when we are entering the lift and it says that human beings, the weight should not exceed 16 kilos, 160 kilos, and somebody is weighing 160.1. Will the person go? No. It will break down the lift. There are several practical examples that has given Mr. Speaker, there are several examples that have given an approach to round decimals when you are dealing with human beings. In our particular case, the underpinning theory is that look at the situation. In our particular case, NDC 137, NPP 137, independent candidate 1, and we are composing committees. The situation calls on us to reflect the presence of independent candidate in independent MP in this House. Mr. Speaker, have dealt with the same situation. If there were 40 independent MPs in the House and equal number of NPP NDC members, would we have just looked at the NPP NDC presence and composed the committees? That is a question I want to leave to the House. But I must say that when you drill the composition as we have now, the 49.98, Mr. Speaker, leaves a clear statistical interpretation that we are talking about less than 50 if we are counting human beings. And the 50.1 clearly says that we are talking about more than 50 people when we are counting human beings, because fractionate human beings. We cannot deal with human beings in fractions. Mr. Speaker, I want to draw the attention of the House to this as we compose all committees, and not only the appointment committee. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Honourable members, I've gone beyond the number. I've gone beyond the 3. But it looks like you want to continue. I believe that's the only item left. But when your leaders are on their feet, it's difficult to deny them the opportunity. And so once an issue of statistics was raised, I'll allow the deputy minority leader to submit his understanding of the data and statistics and the percentages. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I like to support the motion that the House adopt the report of the committee of the leadership in the form as recommended by the committee. Mr. Speaker, there is this argument of whether the first deputy speaker, who is the chair of the committee, of the appointment committee, should be counted in application of the ratio. I think that is the issue of contention. Now, the Honorable Apanyo Maki reference to Order 1093, where he says that a deputy speaker or any other member presiding shall not retain his original vote while presiding. The leader also went further to say that he has no problem with Table 1, which is the business committee. Mr. Speaker, if you apply the reason he quoted Order 1093, that because the first deputy speaker will be presiding, he should not be counted in application of the formula. It means that the same must apply to the business committee, because any act refer to the chair of that committee as well. So one person will also not be counted in the application of the formula, and that is what the chief whip from outside spoke against. If he has no problem with the Table 1, let's apply the formula. Let's take out one person, leaving 19, and apply the formula. The ratio of 138 to 137. Will it give you the 11, or it will give you 10? And that, in that matter, for that matter, your side will have 11 members from that committee. But you don't have any problem with that one. Because if you apply the formula, on the 19th, you have, for your side, you have 9.534.
Can you divide a human being?
Then, for our side, we'll have 9.465.
Can you divide a human being?
In that case, because you cannot divide human being, it means that out of the 19, you should have 10. And we will have 9. Chair of the committee, who is coming from your end, will be added making 11. But you don't have any problem with that one. You do not have problem with that one, but you have problem with the business committee. Appointment committee. When you come to the appointment committee, take out the chair, leave it 25. If you apply the ratio for the appointment committee, your side will have 12.545, and our side will have 12.434, which means that you also have to run up your side to 13, and we'll run ours down to 12. In addition to the chair, which is the first deputy speaker, it means that you'll be having 14 or we'll be having 12 with that one. But in the case of the business committee, where you should have 11, we have 9, you don't have any problem. You shot yourself with the point you are raising. So the relevance of Order 1093 doesn't count here.
Explain the
it doesn't. So, Mr. Speaker, the issue is about application of the ratio on the total number of the membership of the committee. And for that matter, for the business committee, if you apply the ratio, you have 10 from your side, 10 from our side. The same way, Mr. Speaker, if you apply the ratio of 138 over 275 and then 137 over 275, for the appointment committee, you have 13 from your side, and 30 from this side. So, Mr. Speaker, the committee did a perfect job. The committee has come up with a ratio, applied the ratio to the appropriate number, and for that matter, the report and the recommendation of the committee should be what we should approve. The issue that Deputy Leader is raising is something that we should not consider. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much.
Honourable members, there must be an end to litigation. We have listened to you, and I did indicate earlier on that we have a problem with the standing orders, that there were some dark areas. The debate so far has shown that there are dark areas. And that is why the committee took the trouble to conclude that you should approve it to the recommendations. And the recommendations are on the, I think they are on page 2. The recommendations are on page 2. Recommendation 1 clearly states that the standing orders of Parliament be reviewed in earnest. This has become necessary in view of the fact that the revision would have numerical consequences on the composition of the various committees of the House. And 2 says that considering the urgent need, fitted the business of the House and that of government, the committee in the meantime composes the business committee and appointment committee to the House for approval. In the meantime. 3, that the 2 committees will work in the interim, pending the passage of the reviewed standing orders, and would stand dissolved upon the coming into force of the new standing orders. These are interim measures to allow the business of this House to continue, the business of this House and the business of government. That is a compromise solution. The standing orders have challenges, and that is why we are revising and updating them. And so when we finish, some of these dark areas will be clarified for us to move forward. I decided to allow 4 from each side of the House, just for purposes of education. And so I will proceed to put the question, but please in life you cannot eat your cake The Libyans say you can have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. I'll put the question and your decision will apply in the interim. We have also got a special committee to expedite the editing of the new standing orders, so that we believe that by the end of this week or early next week, we have passed it and then we can move forward. So please, why are you people agitated? Honorable Katie Amon.
Mr. Speaker, I realize that you are about to make your ruling, but I was just wondering, before you make your ruling, Mr. Speaker, look at the Standing Order 2115 that our honorable colleague member from Boko drew your attention to. Mr. Speaker, I think it kind of resolves quite a few of the issues that you are talking about.
I'm aware of it. We discussed it. We discussed it at the meeting. I'm aware of it. I'm aware of it. So please put the question. Honorable members, those in favor of the motion for the adoption of the committee's report, say aye. Those against, say no. Honorable members, if it is your pleasure, you stand to be counted. You stand to be counted because by the voice vote, I'm not sure whether it's for the ayes or the noes. Honorable members, order. Yes, honorable member for Efutu. Mr. Speaker, if my I think some members did not really pay attention to the question. Mr. Speaker, I think there was some misunderstanding as to the question you put. We've had proceedings where, Mr. Speaker, in the wake of some misunderstanding, you have put the question again for clarity's sake. Mr. Speaker, in view of the ensuing misunderstanding, I gave your indulgence to put the question. I gave your indulgence. Honorable Mr. Speaker, yes. We gave your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, to put the question so that we can make progress. Oh, please, why? If there was ensuing misunderstanding. Honorable members,
Honorable members, please, honorable members,
all of you should read Order 97. I am very, very clear in my mind. There was no misunderstanding. Honorable Member for Efutu, there was no misunderstanding. It is within my discretion to either put the question again or to proceed to say that by the voice vote I could not decide whether the ayes have it or the noes have it. And so we should go by head count. If after a second thought you want to urge upon me to reconsider and then put the question again, I am prepared to do so. I am going to put the question again. Honorable Member for Aswase, you don't want me to put the question? Honorable members, I'm going to put the question again. All those in favor of the motion for the adoption of the report of the Committee of Selection, say aye. Those against the adoption of the report, say no. Members, surely the ayes have it. The motion is adopted. The committees as proposed by the report will remain until the new standing orders come into effect. Honorable members, I'm told that there is no more business to consider for today. But I have an important I have one announcement before I adjourn the House. You recall the House discussed the issue of the medical screening for all honorable members of Parliament. A notice to that effect has been issued, and all members of Parliament are accordingly requested to avail themselves for this important medical screening exercise scheduled as follows. Date: Wednesday 20th to Friday 22nd January 2021. Time: 12:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. each day. Venue: Parliament Medical Center. You are kindly requested to refer to the list that has been attached to the notice. Your names are arranged in alphabetical order, and the names here I'm referring to say names for the exact dates you have for the medical examination. COVID-19 is real and deadly. We expect all members I will lead to do this. At the end of the day, if we find out that a member or some members haven't gone through the screening, we will advise ourselves as to what to do. I proceed to adjourn the House. The House is accordingly adjourned to 14 hours. Tomorrow, Wednesday,
Mr. Speaker, I was wondering whether my colleague's motion, which you serve notice of same being debated tomorrow, has been served on other members for yes. I just want to be sure whether the clerk at table has made available copies of his motion papers submitted by you for colleagues to make input or contribute when same is moved tomorrow. I just wanted to bring that to your attention so that
you are raising issue on the motion that I've admitted for tomorrow. The motion for tomorrow. Yes, definitely will be put on the order paper and copies will be made available to members. It's a very important motion and I believe that members should prepare for it tomorrow. That is why I give notice. But this is, I don't hope your intention is to arrest the adjournment of the House. And so, honorable members, the House is accordingly adjourned.
I don't know when you respect it, yeah.